The Jews from Thessalonica learned that Paul also proclaimed God's word in Berea. So they went there too and were upsetting and disturbing the crowds. The brothers and sisters sent Paul away to the seacoast at once, but Silas and Timothy remained at Berea. Those who escorted Paul led him as far as Athens, then returned with instructions for Silas and Timothy to come to him as quickly as possible. While Paul waited for them in Athens, he was deeply distressed to find that the city was flooded with idols. He began to interact with the Jews and Gentile God worshippers in the synagogue. He also addressed whoever happened to be in the marketplace each day. Certain Epicurean and Stoic philosophers engaged him in discussion too. Some said, "What an amateur, what's he trying to say?" Others remarked, "He seems to be a proclaimer of foreign gods." They said this because he was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. They took him into custody and brought him to the council on Mars Hill. Before what is this new teaching? Can we learn what you're talking about? You've told us some strange things, and we want to know what they mean. They said this because all Athenians, as well as foreigners who lived in Athens, used to spend their time doing nothing but talking about or listening to the newest thing. Talking about or listening to the newest thing, Paul stood up in the middle of the council on Mars Hill and said, "People of Athens, I can see that you are very religious in every way. As I was walking through town and carefully observing your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God. What you worship as unknown, I now proclaim to you. God, who made the world and everything in it, is Lord of heaven and earth. He doesn't live in temples made with human hands, nor is God served with human hands as though he needed something, since he is the one who gives life, breath, and everything else. From one person, God created every human nation to live on the whole earth, having determined their appointed times and the boundaries of their lands. God made the nations so they would seek him, perhaps even reach out to him and find him. In fact, God isn't far away from any of us. In God we live, move, and exist, as some of your own poets said. We are his offspring. Therefore, as God's offspring, we have no need to imagine that the divine being is like a gold, silver, or stone image made by human skill and thought. God made the nations so that we would seek him, perhaps even reach out to him and find him. In fact, God isn't far away from any of us. No, sorry, I repeated that. I'm repeating myself. Therefore, as God's offspring, we have no need to imagine that the divine being is like a gold, silver, stone image made by human skill and thought. God overlooks these things in times past, but now directs everyone everywhere to change their hearts and lives. This is because God has set a day when he intends to judge the world justly by a man he has appointed. God has given proof of this to everyone by raising him from the dead. When they heard about the resurrection of the dead, some began to ridicule Paul. However, others said, "We'll hear from you about this again." At that, Paul left the council